5-1, writing fractions as decimals. There are two ways to turn a fraction into a decimal. One involves you setting up things as a long division problem, writing it all out, putting a decimal point in, adding zeros, and that's the way you would have done it or begin to do it in the earlier grades. Now, here, pre-algebra, ready to move on, streamlining and simplifying things. In this aspect here alone, you'll still have to do things the old-fashioned way in other places, but here we're going to streamline it. So here's what you're going to do. To turn -3/8 into a decimal, you simply take a calculator and you type into it 3, the divided by button, the 8 button, and then the equal sign. Obviously, the negative sign goes from the problem into the answer. And you're going to answer is going to be all whole numbers and 3 decimal places. So when we do this, -3/8 turns into -0.375. -3/8 is the same thing as -0.375. So it's quite important that you keep the whole numbers and 3 decimal places. Some of your problems are going to have more than that. What do you think you do if you have a repeating decimal? You put a line over the last digit. That's fine. 3 decimal places is fine for what we're going to do. Repeating decimals. Typing into a calculator, you get 0.33, so on and so forth, but we can just do 0.33 with a line over both 3's or 1 3. It's up to you. It makes no difference. Again, today's lesson, calculator, streamlining things to make you be able to move forward because we're going to use fractions and decimals and need to be able to switch between forms rather quickly. As part of this lesson, you're going to compare decimals, meaning we're going to have to decide which one decimal is larger than another decimal. Now, you'll notice the example. We want to make both numbers have the same number of decimal places. We want to use a larger amount. The examples, those are not 3's, those are not 7's, those are simply squiggles. I didn't want you to get burdened with the actual numbers that they were going to be. So the first example is squiggles, and it has 4 places. That's important to know. That's the only thing that matters there is the fact that it has 4 decimal places. The second one only has 2 places. That's a problem. We need to make sure that our decimals all have the same number of decimal places. So what can we do to change this to make sure that they both have the same number of decimal places? In the past, I've heard, look at the first one, take off the last 2 decimal places. Well, that changes the value of that number. We cannot do that. Other people have suggested, why not add a couple of zeros on the second number so it now has 4 places as well. That's actually the correct solution. We're going to add zeros in the lower number of decimal places number in order to make sure it has the same number of decimal places. Now you can go and compare these 2 decimals because they have the same decimal representation. It's very important that you're able to do that. Your homework using a calculator is 14 to 40 for the evens on page 203.